On the 11th of May, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the Somnath Temple in Gujarat to participate in the Somnath Amrut Parv, celebrating 75 years of the temple's reconstruction. The Prime Minister offered prayers on this auspicious occasion and even released a special 75 rupee coin to commemorate the milestone. Hello and welcome to Inside South Asia. I'm Kripa. Attacks and deadly blasts have once again rocked Pakistan last week. At least 15 police personnel were killed in northwestern Pakistan on the 9th of May when a suicide bomber rammed an explosives-laden vehicle into a police checkpoint, following which the police officers rushing to the scene were ambushed by the militants. A couple of days later, on the 12th of May, 10 people were killed and a dozen others were wounded in a massive bomb blast at a crowded market once again in the restive northwestern border province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Our next report brings you the details.
Pakistan is fighting a war within, and in a major cause of concern appears to be struggling to rein in the insurgents. On 9th of May, the insurgency hit border province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa was jolted by yet another militant attack. First, a suicide attacker detonated a car bomb at a police checkpoint, after which more than 100 militants stormed the police checkpost, opening fire which resulted in the death of at least 15 police personnel.
Following last night's attack on the Fateh Khel police checkpoint in Banno, approximately 11 dead bodies, which had been buried under the debris, have been received at the district headquarters hospital. In addition, 5 injured individuals have also been brought to the district hospital, where they were immediately provided with medical treatment in the emergency department.
My house is 2 furlongs away from this post. When the explosion happened, the doors of 2 rooms in my house fell down. Then smoke started rising and shooting also started. I couldn't go outside the gate of the house. The children started crying in the house.
According to police officials, the militants also used quadcopters along with heavy weaponry in the attack. In the immediate aftermath of the attack, claimed by a militant alliance known as Ittihad-ul-Mujahideen, ambulances from rescue agencies and civil hospitals rushed to the scene and a state of emergency was soon declared in government hospitals in the city of Bannu. It is to be noted that in recent years, Bannu has been gripped by militant activity that has grown across Pakistan's border regions. On Monday, Islamabad, after concluding that the attack was masterminded by terrorists residing in Afghanistan, summoned the top Afghan diplomat in the country, though the ruling Taliban government rejected the allegations as baseless. As tensions escalated between Pakistan and Afghanistan, the very next day, 10 people were killed and dozens others were wounded in a massive bomb blast at the crowded Naurang Bazar in northwestern Pakistan. Such was the impact of the massive blast that shopfronts were damaged and vehicles were mangled, even as people rushed to help the wounded and emergency vehicles raced to the site.
The blast occurred at the Fatak area where traffic police personnel are deployed on daily duty. I was about 300 to 400 feet away from the site of the explosion. When I heard the blast, I felt that something had exploded. I looked up and saw smoke rising. When I arrived here, I witnessed very horrific scenes. Injured people were lying there on the spot, and bodies were also present. People were lifting the bodies on their own and transporting them to the hospital. After that, rescue teams arrived and police also came. However, 2 traffic police personnel have been martyred here.
Since the Taliban stormed back to power in Kabul in August 2021, Islamabad, troubled by a spike of attacks on its security forces, has repeatedly accused the Taliban government of providing a haven to anti-Pakistan militant groups, including Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Taliban has refuted these allegations. calling the militancy Pakistan's domestic problem. On Tuesday, the United Nations published a report saying that in the first 3 months of 2026, at least 372 Afghan civilians were killed and 397 others were wounded in conflict between Taliban government forces and Pakistan. A lasting deal between the two countries has proven to be elusive despite several rounds of talks, with reportedly the security issues proving to be a major sticking point.
The two brazen militant attacks within a span of a few days in the restive Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province
have once again underlined the threat Pakistan is facing on the home front.
Every year, with the arrival of summer, India braces itself for blistering heat waves. Few places, however, endure conditions as searing as the country's western desert salt pans, where summer temperatures routinely cross 45 degrees Celsius and can shoot up to 50 degrees. Our next story is about salt workers who spent 8 months on these remote salt pans and their fight for survival in almost unbearable temperatures.
The western state of Gujarat produces roughly 3/4 of India's total salt output. In Gujarat's little run of Kutch, up to 50,000 workers spent 8 punishing months on the remote salt pans without electricity, healthcare, even bereft of the shade of a tree. Heavily reliant on water tankers to deliver drinking and washing water every 25 days, these salt workers use shaded rest breaks, cloth-cooled water bottles, and staggered hours to survive the sweltering heat.
I have been working in this heat for 30 years. It is hot and it gives me a headache. But we have to do it to earn our livelihood.
We take pills if our health becomes bad. We take pills when the body aches or there's pain. We keep taking pills. I take medicines and then continue working.
It does hurt. The skin breaks and sometimes there is bleeding because the salt is very harsh.
While the dry heat makes life punishing and intolerable, it also makes the desert ideal for salt production. The salt is produced by pumping saline water from bore wells into shallow pans, where the liquid evaporates under the scorching sun and the dry summer wind. Workers rake the surface daily to ensure even crystallization. Over weeks, a thick crust of salt forms, which the workers break and stack into mounds. But in an unforgiving landscape without trees or natural shade, the sun reflects harshly off the white salt crust. The only respite is offered by makeshift huts, essentially frames of sticks, draped with coarse homespun cloth and plastered with wild donkey dung. The dung blocks the sun and allows heat to escape, while the rough cloth allows some air to pass through, providing the much-needed relief for a few hours during stifling afternoons.
For 8 months, they go to the run of Kutch to make salt. They leave at the end of September and return at the end of April. For the entire 8 months, they stay there with their families. Around 8,500 families make salt there. In the run of Kutch, temperatures can rise up to 50 degrees. This heat has both positive and negative aspects. The higher the heat, the quicker the salt making process. On the other hand, due to the intense heat, salt workers have to deal with loo and related illnesses. This problem is mainly during the afternoon, otherwise it is quite cool in the evening.
Though enduring harsh conditions has always come with the territory, this year the India Meteorological Department forecasts an above normal number of heat wave days across several regions, including Gujarat. Fatigue, dizziness and nausea, telltale signs of heat stress, are frequently reported by the workers. For some, the consequence of this grueling existence is tragically deadly. What's especially concerning is that India has no fixed legal temperature at which work must stop and mainly relies on IMD heatwave thresholds. But for around 8,500 families working in the run of Kutch with no agricultural land or livestock, there aren't many alternatives available.
Bangladesh, like other Asian countries, is grappling with an energy crisis triggered by the West Asia war that is weighing down an already struggling economy. At the center of this slowdown lies its export-dependent garment industry, which is the backbone of its economy. Against this dismal backdrop, policymakers find themselves walking a tightrope as efforts to stabilize supply chains collide with rising fiscal pressures and shrinking external options. Our next report tells you more.
As Bangladesh, the South Asian nation of 170 million people, struggled to steady a fledgling economy already weighed down by rising costs and slowing growth, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz delivered yet another setback to the nation's fragile financial system. The global shipping chokehold through which a significant portion of the world's oil supplies pass has sent energy prices soaring and disrupted critical fuel supply chains across South Asia. Bangladesh, heavily dependent on imported energy, has found itself in an increasingly vulnerable position. Soaring fuel costs are driving up inflation, straining household budgets and putting immense pressure on industries, ranging from transport to manufacturing. For many Bangladeshis, life today has increasingly become a waiting game outside petrol pumps as they struggle to secure fuel. The 53-year-old father of 4 children, Tariqul Islam, who lost his savings after a setback in his clothing business about 18 months ago, turned to motorbike ride-sharing to support his family. But in recent weeks, life has been unusually tough as he has been spending longer hours standing in queues for fuel.
If this situation continues, we will have to move back to our village and find some other way to earn a living. It is not possible to survive in Dhaka by doing ride-sharing under these conditions.
With the respite in sight, Dhaka appears to have few options left. Even if global energy prices remain at current levels, the government could be forced to spend an additional $1.07 billion on liquefied natural gas subsidies during the April-June quarter alone, further stretching public finances. In a bid to secure stable supplies, Bangladesh has increasingly turned to its neighbors, particularly India. It is to be noted that New Delhi has diversified its energy imports through sources, including Russia, and has responded positively to Dhaka's request for help. At the same time, authorities have introduced a series of austerity measures to manage the worsening situation. Gas and diesel shortages have led to more frequent power cuts in industrial zones, disrupting factory operations and threatening export output. The government has also shut down fertilizer factories to divert gas towards power generation, limited evening hours for shopping malls and introduced fuel rationing. The World Bank, in its April assessment, warned that Bangladesh's economic growth could slow to 3.9% for the fiscal year ending in June. It also cautioned that a prolonged closure of the strait can further drive inflation, widen the current account deficit and place even greater pressure on government finances through higher energy subsidies.
I think one is the impact on inflation. The second element is also because of the initial response with stabilizer, including subsidies when it comes to energy and fertilizer. That is obviously making the fiscal situation more difficult, and then a potential risk on weakening the current account, including because the added cost of imports. So that means the room for maneuver is quite limited, and the longer the shock is going to be there, the more difficult it will be.
As the West Asia conflict enters its 4th month, its impact is proving particularly severe for the country's garment industry, the world's second largest after China. The crucial sector, which generates around $39 billion annually and employs nearly 4 million people, mostly rural women, is negotiating a tough time. Business leaders say the price of petroleum-based materials such as sewing threads, polybags and cartons have risen sharply, while factories are also spending more on diesel-powered generators to cope with frequent blackouts.
Because of the energy, the production drops about 30 to 40%. And the cost of doing business has increased about 35 to 40% also. The local demand has been dropped because of the inflation's getting high.
With the cost of doing business increasing significantly and the fuel crisis exhibiting little signs of easing up, the fear is thousands of Bangladeshi garment workers could end up losing their livelihoods, thereby weakening one of the country's most critical engines of economic growth.
The Maldives is moving closer to signing a bilateral free trade agreement with India by the end of 2026. In an exclusive chat with our Assistant Editor of Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal, Maldives Foreign Minister talks about this and more as both countries celebrate 60 years of diplomatic relations.
How do you characterize India-Maldives relationship?
I believe that we have a very long-standing relationships, very close bilateral relations, and it is the 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations between our two countries. Maldives recognize this, and India being a partner has a lot of positives. India has also been the first responder when the Maldives needed assistance at times of COVID, providing the vaccine. And on the 3rd November, when we needed the assistance to support the Maldives. And there historically, several times when we need consular assistance, bilaterally when we needed support for our development projects, support for our budget in order to ensure that the people of Maldives survive and their expectations are met. Free trade agreement negotiations or consultations have already been convened in the Maldives. The Commerce Minister has agreed today at our meeting that he will extend an invitation to our Economic Minister, and we will try to sign the free trade agreement, inshallah, this year.
Mother's Day is a special time around the world where we honor mothers with flowers, family get-togethers and slicing into delicious cakes. But in Pakistan this year, the occasion carried a different mood. As thousands took to the streets to demand women's rights, the yearly march unfolded alongside Mother's Day celebrations as demonstrators called attention to issues of women's safety, equality and basic rights in the country.
On Mother's Day in the port city of Karachi, hundreds took to the streets for the annual Aurat March or Women's March, transforming a day of familial celebration into a powerful plea for women's rights. Demonstrators, including women, students, activists, and the transgender community members, marched together, chanting slogans demanding freedom and protection against the oppression of women and transgenders. The largely conservative Pakistani society is viewed by many as riddled with structural and social barriers stifling the potential of women.
The responsibility of the government is to provide the services, the public health services, the economic ability. All these things are related to schooling. But your whole environment, your basic rights are all part of an ecosystem. And there are many responsibilities of the government that they have to fulfill.
Since 2018, this annual Women's March has grown into the country's most potent crusade for women's rights and gender justice. Usually, the Women's March has been held in major Pakistani cities on the 8th of March, the International Women's Day. But the significant social event was delayed this year due to the Islamic holy month of Ramzan. The delay, however, added a different dimension to the selected theme as the rally coincided with Mother's Day. A prominent issue in focus is the very idea of good daughters, a reference to the societal expectations and pressures placed on women within families and communities.
The slogan of the march is "My body, my choice, my life, my authority." The state has no role in deciding what choices I make in my own life for my well-being and for the future generations to come. And today, since it is Mother's Day, it makes even more sense for me to be here. I'm a mother myself. Today, I'm not here for myself only. I'm here for my children as well.
During the rally, participants underlined the need for safer environments for women, the need for the enforcement of women's rights, and an end to the discriminatory laws of the country. The acknowledgement and criminalization of marital rape emerged as one of the central demands.
So we are saying that marital rape should be acknowledged as rape, should be punished, the rapist should be punished and not allowed to go free. So that's one of our major demands this year. Then we are also demanding shelter and safety for women, because women have no spaces of shelter in this city, in this province. There are very few shelters where women can go to.
Since its inception, the Women's March has grown into one of the most important social movements in Pakistan. The supporters of the movement view it as a necessary platform to discuss issues often relegated to the margins. The fiery speeches and the public displays of protest has frequently sparked national debates over public morality, the limits of protest and the role of social movements in a deeply conservative society. Some of the slogans, placards, and artistic expressions displayed also elicited strong reactions from Pakistan's conservative circles. The critics contend that certain messages promoted during the demonstrations don't align with traditional social values. Yet, despite the controversy surrounding it, the Women's March continues to draw massive crowds each year. And with every edition, the call for greater women's rights, fair representation, and freedom continues to grow louder. The question is the Pakistani ruling establishment and the conservative circle paying attention?